Hello, merhaba dear friends. I'm recording this video for Paulina and Carissa. I know that today actually they are having a book signing event, so I decided to write something for them, record a video, and then hopefully you can all see. Uh, First, actually, I want to talk about like how we met with Paulina and Carissa. I was a long time ago actually, and I was working at Turkish Cultural Center in Manhattan, New York, basically, and I was doing Ebru art. They joined actually one of my art shop workshop, and we worked together. They liked the Ebru. I'm not sure actually if this was their first time, but they liked the art. And after like the workshop, they came and they say, "Mr. Mustafa, we want to learn about this art." And for me it was very happy moment because when I see people actually are interested in learning, when I see that they are very curious about something, I open my heart and I actually give whatever I have. So this was a happy moment for me. They said that we're gonna go Taiwan, but we're gonna come back, and then I arranged some time for them. I was during this like summertime, so they came, and then we practiced for 1 week. So I try to like teach all of the steps for them. I show them what kind of materials we use, what kind of water, and we start with the basic, and then they practice, and now they are masters. I am so glad to see that. One of the thing actually I want to mention, it didn't stop at that, and then they actually moved on. They came here again. We worked together for 2 3 times in New York, and they still continue in Taiwan. I know they have very big workshop, and they also teach like other people, especially kids, and for those actually who are very interested in art. I am so glad to see that. And I am so happy to actually receive one of the books. They sent it to me. This is the book actually. You probably gonna have one of them. It's a wonderful book to see, and great actually. It's very great to see a book actually written in Chinese and published somewhere other than Turkey. So now it's accessible to many different people in Taiwan, well, in China, and other lands actually where people actually speak Chinese and read Chinese. It's very nice. And I'm not sure this might be the first book actually in Taiwan. And I'm not sure if they publish any book actually in Chinese in China as well. This might be the first book in China as well. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken. But it's a very excited moment for me to see that book. I want to say thank you. Uh, Paulina and Karis actually wanted me to talk about a little bit about Ebru art, so I'm just gonna give you some brief information. Like I can show you all of the things that we are using, but I have this preface actually for the book. It's like a poem. If you look at the book, uh, basically it shows the history of every art and how actually it is related to human being, and like the feelings and emotions, and how actually art is connected with human being like that. I definitely suggest everybody to read that. It's in English, but if you do not understand, you can actually ask a friend who can actually translate it for you. I'm sure you can enjoy that. It took me almost a month actually to write this. This was actually originally published in the first book they published. This is the second book they are publishing. So please have some time and read that introduction in the book. I'm sure you're gonna like that. Ebru art, basically, I can say actually when I started, I was 2000, maybe one, two, I don't remember well, but it has been a long time, maybe more than 20 years I've been practicing this art. And the first time, one of my friends was doing that when he was in college. I saw that and I like it a lot. I said that I should do that too. I studied history when I was in Turkey. I have double majors, double majors. Um, I have one in history and one in art. I study history and art both together. Sorry. So my friend was doing that, and I say I like it. I wanna do it too. So I went to art store. I said that I wanna buy some Ebru art supplies. So I bought the paints, and there was only paints basically in art store. And I got some papers. There was no tray. I said, there is no tray. How can I get it? Then I went to one of the steelwork actually company. It was like a small workshop basically. It's not even company. So I said that I need a tray. I give them the measurements and everything, 30 by 550, 36 by 51 centimeter. And then the guy said, I'm going to make it in 1 hour. Can you wait? I said, of course I can wait. And then he finished it in 1 hour, and then he gave it to me. I went home. I was so excited. So I prepared the water and the paints, and I started making. One of the things actually that changed in Ebru art nowadays is the water. So today actually we have this kind of kerosene powder. This is basically it's almost like cornstarch that every artist used actually around the world today. But when I started, it wasn't like that. I had very challenging time. It was something like this. So you actually grab those things from the plants, you dry them very well, and then you boil it. So sometimes when you overboil it, it's gone. So you have to take more and then put it again and then boil it again until actually you get the thickness of it. So it was I had to throw some at the beginning, and then I get along with the material, with the kerosene. This is basically a plant where we have in Turkey. During the summer, you find the plant, you actually just cut some part of it just a little bit, and then the liquid actually comes off. It's like milky liquid. It comes off, and then it dry. You go there again, and then you collect those things, and you dry it well, and then you boil it, and then what happened? You get this liquid water. The brush was something that I didn't use at all because I didn't know that the brush exists in Ebru art. There was no kind of internet connection. I didn't have any book to read and learn about it. It was hard time but very excited time because each time you're practicing something new, you're looking for something new, and I had a lot of like cool things. So these brushes actually I learned years later that people actually using these brushes to make Ebru art. I was using like toothpick um, and some of the like woods, and to find I would just drop like each color one by one, uh, and then I will make Ebru papers. The brush actually came later to my life. I learned about this later. I'm talking about like 20 years ago, where there was no internet connection in my hometown, and like we have very limited access to libraries, and we don't have this kind of books in libraries as well. Even though like Turkey is known as the land of Ebru art, we have very limited access. So I try to do calligraphies. I try to use like different papers, and one of the things I can say that excite me a lot when I compare my artworks with actually artworks that was done long time ago in history. I saw a lot of similarities because my struggle with the paint and with the water and the way actually I was going, I didn't look at anything, and that's why actually I assume the people actually who did this art about like 1,000 years ago, they also had like similar things. They probably find something else, whether it was like a metal or the piece of wood. Actually, they will use it to draw on the surface of the water. So my designs, and when I look at the old designs, they were almost like very identical. They look like each other. So this was the moment actually I was so excited to see actually like similarities between the artwork that was done a long time ago. The thing is, because the water is the master and you are the one who actually become the partner with the master. What happened? There's limitations actually on the surface of the water, and you can go certain directions basically. It is open, like you can actually create many different designs, but the design will look like it will look like each other. That was something I found very interesting. Um, the paints actually, the pigments, or I can say we use they're basically earth-based, like powder pigments that we use. This is pigment blue I purchased from Istanbul from 2012. I still have it. This is ultramarine blue, and I'm not gonna use it all. I'm just gonna keep some because the paints are not the same anymore. It's keep changing. This is ochre yellow. Sorry, these are the powder one. And the way actually we make the paints, first you have to crush these pigments first until you get the powder version of it, and then you mix it with the water a little bit, and then you can actually add a little bit of ox gall. I'm gonna explain this later. To get like a very creamy, almost like yogurt like cream. And then once it become cream, then you can add water, mix it until you get liquid water, liquid paint, and then you can actually apply it. So the paint that we use for Ebru art is not something that you can actually easily find it. It's very hard to find it. So the pigments also are like handmade pigments. You have to find your own pigments and then crush it. Some of the pigments actually are being processed a lot on high temperature, and then they get actually different colors. Let's say if you fire them actually in 2000 Fahrenheit, they get different colors. 3000, 4000 Fahrenheit, the color changes based on the heat. And we have one material we call the ox gall, and this is something I'm sure all of you see that. So this is the ox gall. We have it from, I guess this one is from 2012 as well. I haven't opened it, and still you can see the color change it a little bit. We use this for paint basically. So there is no only water in the paint pigments. You have to have this ox gall. This is basically a thinner. If you are familiar with the oil painting, you use actually a linseed oil, and then you mix that with the pigments, you get oil paint. This one is not oil. Not only oil can stay on top of the water. This is ox gall actually help the pigments to stay on top of the water. So for another thing I will say is the water. The water is also, it's not just the water. We have this kerosene powder in it. We mix that with the water, and then just get thick water. When you put very light paints on surface of the thick water, it can actually handle. I already talked about the brushes, but I want to show you something different as well. These brushes basically are traditionally made. The one you see here, this one is bamboo stick. Basically, it's very smooth. And this one, you can see actually it has a little bit curve to it. This is basically the rose stick. It's very important actually. Traditionally, we have been using this for a long time, and it has a meaning also to it. So why do we use rose sticks? Because rose is in our culture is beautiful, and if you want to make something beautiful should be in between. So that's why actually we use this rose sticks. Traditionally, like all of the masters, Ebru masters, they actually made their own brushes from rose sticks. And horsehair is very practical in Ebru art. And as you can see, it is not fine point, it's not smooth, and the stick actually. It helps a lot to sprinkle paint on surface of the water. This is actually one of the identical thing about Turkish Ebru art. The uh, the brush is very thick. When you sprinkle the paint on surface of the water, it just go all over the tray, which what we want actually to be. And this horse was also part of everyday life. So and I assume they don't use like Turkey is Turkey has a Muslim background. Basically, they wouldn't use like a pig hairs or like a different animal's hair. Horse was something they liked it actually. That's why it was used. Um Other than brush, I think I mentioned everything except mm, the needles and also the paper. So these are the needles actually we are using. So I have some here, and they came. You can see actually they come in different sizes. Depends on actually what you want to do. If you want to drop a big drop, then you can actually the big one, big needles, because this absorb more paint than the other one. And if you want to draw a very tiny drop, you can actually drop it. So there are two functions. One, you can actually drop the paints on surface of the water with this needles. Second, you can make designs. If you want to have very thick lines, you can actually use this one. Thin lines, you can use this one. When we do like the flower design, we mostly use like the medium one, not very thin one. Mostly you can actually make some details of the leaves, um, uh, or any other detail maybe. This one actually is like a medium. Actually, we use this one to make the flowers and leaves. Details actually with this tiny one. And the paper basically is acid-free paper we are using. So this paper, why do we use acid-free? If you are familiar with actually art stores, and if you work there, maybe you actually know almost all of the papers are being sold in art store are acid-free papers, because it's not gonna damage the artwork, and you can keep them for a very long time. Uh, so these are the yellow papers. Traditionally, actually, we have been using these papers for a very long time, and sorry. And these are some of the designs I want to show there, because I want to talk about something and this papers. If you look at this paper, I only use like four colors here. I use the white one, yellow, red, and blue, like three primary colors and only white. But when you look at this paper, you don't see the primary colors. There is a process here basically. And one of the things I found uh, was when you actually put pigments, like each color separately on the surface of the water, what will happen? They will all have their own spaces. They are not going to mix with each other. So in order to have very like you do colors, vibrant colors like this one, you need to mix the colors before, so the paint never mixes with each other on the surface. As I say, in order to get this color, you have to mix them before you put it on. So if you look at that, you may have actually 20 different colors, but you have to have like 20 jars and 20 different colors, and then you have to put them separately. So this will take a lot of time. One of the things actually I found out was to mix paint on the brush. So I will choose one of the design first, one of the color pigment first. Let's say I choose the white one, and I will drop one blue maybe and one red, and then one brown, maybe different colors, and then I will just sprinkle on surface. What will happen? So it will give wonderful shades and wonderful gradient to color, and then you will have this kind of like all different colors. This was something that actually I discovered when I was doing, so it became one of my identical technique. Actually, I've been doing that for a long time. There are some others as well I want to show. I mean, the colors comes out very good. This is another one. You can see the colors actually are coming very good. This is only blue, red, and yellow color basically. The green comes from the mixture, and you can see the ultramarine blue on top of it with the mixture of the white. uh, there is also another one here. This is also another one. You can see we have the red and blue, yellow, green, kind of brownish color. They all mix with each other. There are a lot. These are actually some of the design you will see um, in the books, basically book covers. So I think that's it. Like there are 5 things, as I mentioned, you may actually know about this art. One of them, as I mentioned, was the water. It's not just the water. We have some kerosene powder in it, which makes the water thick. The other one is the paint. The paint also has some ingredient in it. We call it ox gall, or you can say thinner, basically. We mix those two with the water. And the brushes are made of horsehair and rose sticks. When I say rose, it doesn't have to be the rose stick, but traditionally it has been this way. If you want to use different one, you can also use different one. And the other thing I mentioned, the paper. Basically, you can use acid-free paper, which you can actually keep your work for a long time, as I said. And one of the things I forgot to mention about the paper, you should use very thin paper. So if you use thick paper, it becomes very challenging when you put that on surface of the water. So thin paper actually lays on the water very smooth. So you can actually get the most of the design from it. When you use the thick paper, I love also the thick papers, but sometimes it can create a lot of challenge. So it can create bubbles on the surface when you put it, because it doesn't sit right away. When you put it on, it may actually create some bubbles, but it takes time. If you practice with that, you may actually get along with this a lot as well. I prefer using thin paper. This is 70 milligram, basically, paper I'm using. And these needles are the one actually we make designs. When you look at the artworks, you may think actually the design is made with the brush, but the brush actually is the tool only to put colors on surface. The designs are made with the needles. Let's say if you want to make the flowers, you actually use the needles, not the brush, to make the designs. Other than this, I think I talk about almost everything in Ebru art. There are also some other things like the combs that you can actually use to make like different designs. Other than that, I think we covered almost everything. So I just want to go back to the book again and then maybe read some part of it for you and explain maybe. I mean, the poetry does not need any explanation, but I may go over to see actually what comes up. There is actually a quote at the beginning of the poem. It says, "Mutato nomine ete fabula narratur." Only change the name and it is your story that is being told. This was something actually I noted on my notebook long time ago when I was studying about Latin language. So whether it's a language or not, this is a different conversation, but I like actually reading like philosophy books, and each language actually is born in its origin, basically, and it makes a lot of sense when you actually quote these things. You only change the name and it is your story. So whatever actually is being told right now, it is your story. In history, humans probably saw themselves in the water for the first time, or in the eyes of their beloved. So basically, we need something that can actually reflect us. When we look at the water, basically, we can see ourselves. When we look at each other, there are a lot of actually deep meaning into it. If you actually think a lot about this sentence, you can see yourself in the eyes of beloved ones. When we look at each other, when we love each other, when we respect each other, we can actually see each other. It was a reflection, a moment coming to eye contact. It was a matter of looking at one another, experiencing the amazement before the universe. What a beautiful thing that was, being able to see oneself and seeing and that for the first time. For centuries in the East and West, find yourself, they will say, know yourself. But how would this be? How would humans find themselves? Humanity was in quest for what they had lost, but it wasn't certain whether they would find that. But how would they grow aware what they did possess? Human like water flowing on, what will they do with what they found now? How will they protect it? And then what? How will they use it? Was this humans returning to their self? Maybe it was related to their looking and seeing. For what happened, for what appeared, was neither an end nor infinity. Maybe it was the beginning of the end. Maybe it was realizing the existence. Maybe they didn't find themselves at all. The road tired some of them maybe, whereas some of them tired the roads. So when I read this text, actually, I was thinking about Paulina and Carissa. This text, it says the road tired some of them maybe. The road basically here is kind of, I can say the life. Or there are actually people, they start something and sometimes actually things happen in their life, they have to give up. And there are some people, whereas some of them tired the roads, which means that no matter actually what kind of challenges they have in life, they go over and then actually they do it. Like they basically do whatever they do. It just actually remind me, Paulina and Carissa, how they spend time actually to learn Ebru art. There are a lot of challenges actually in Ebru art. Sometimes the paint doesn't work. Sometimes the water, it doesn't function in the way you like it. It takes a lot of time to these kind of things, and then you say, "Oh, I'm not gonna do that." So what happened? Paulina and Carissa became an excellent example for this one. That's why when I say, whereas some of them tired the roads, they challenge the Ebru art itself. They challenge it, and sometimes, as I said, the work of art challenge some people, but sometimes the artist itself challenge it. So this sentence basically here is about Paulina and Carissa. And there were those with insights as they worked, as they endeavored. So many managed to break their shackles. It was the sweat of their both, it was the drop from the sea, it was the beginning of the end, maybe. So, what was this end? What is the beginning? What is this beginning? And they talk about Ebru, and they saw how beautiful it is. But what does Ebru mean? It is the water of life. It is the meeting of colors with the water. It is the appearance of the moon on the water. For whatever you hold within, that is what pours on the tray. Nothing more, nothing less. A person is whatever he or she is. Nothing more, nothing less. You are whatever you are. This is water. This is Ebru. It hides a mythical herb of immortality King Gilgamesh sought for. So King Gilgamesh basically is one of the ancient Sumerian king in ancient Mesopotamia, if you know about this region. Today, basically Turkey, Iran, Iraq, no, not Iran, sorry, Turkey and Iraq. It's the place where it's between Tigris and Euphrates river, basically. It is in Turkey and Iraq today. And this king actually lived a long time ago. One of the king of ancient Sumerian who invented the cuneiform, the first writing system in history, basically. And he was the king of the Sumerian, and he was very interesting person, always looking for the herbs that he can consume and then become an immortal person. It is not just about looking for, basically, it's not just about looking for something that you can be immortal. There are a lot of messages actually in his story. So I read this book when I was in high school, long time ago. But I still remember and how he was actually going through each journey. If you know about Odysseus, about like the Odysseus of Homerus, basically, this book was also written long time ago, and we still know about the Iliad and Odysseus. Basically, they go through a lot of journey, and these journeys were basically told to people actually verbally. It was developed later, and they turned that actually into books. And King Gilgamesh basically was one of the book I read, and I was really inspired how he was tirelessly basically working on something to find something. He basically didn't actually find whatever he was looking for, but the journey itself was amazing. To be in a journey like this was something amazing. I liked a lot, and he was working tirelessly. Because if you focus on the results, you may actually fail. As I said, if you just look at the results, you're gonna be very blind person, and then you're gonna look and say, no, this is not, and then I'm done. But sometimes journey itself become the result. But not everybody see that. This is the thing. It hides the mythical herb of immortality King Gilgamesh sought for. It is the friend of worried ones. It upholds those who open up it. Every trouble turns into who when you work on it. Then they turn into rejoice in your heart. Pour down one by one earth-based dyes to the tray. One holds the brush, and the other hand becomes a companion of the artist. Dyes are like untrained colts. Even though they escape here and there at first, they get familiar with your hands. Because it takes time, because it takes effort. As the dyes are poured to the tray, they attract you to themselves. Even though the destination you seek and the way you go are not always the same, in the course of the time, you find your way, you arrive at the destination you wish, whether you like it or not. First, you must accept what you do. There, there will surely be your ways you wish to correct. Then you make them up in your own way. It requires time, it requires patience, and so does it require efforts. You touch the water in the tray with a needle, it flows, and then colors follow wherever you wish to take them. They become patterns, flowers, trees, or a heart. It becomes a white base, which meets with ochre yellow. Leaves gain vividness from the green of the stem. Tulips start blooming out of the earth red, and the blue cloves, and the purple violets, and yellow daisies, and so many others. Paper descends on the tray like a delicate lover. It reunites with the colors. It emerges with color, and finally, Gamtaranag becomes the seal of the paper. And now the spirit is ready to leave its cage. The paper is taken from out of the tray. What appeared on water is now on a paper now. The paper becomes history. It is now a memory for the future generations. All those things will take time. What you made, what you wish to look at, your very mood is in front of you now. Reading and seeing all the take time. Yes, here it is. The Ebru art continues for centuries. It's now a companion of yours. Its affection is hidden in its birth. He never turns anyone empty-handed. The colors pour in its heart. It does not leave them unresponded. It pleases both its masters and apprentice. It is born as an orphan. This line actually shows the history of Ebru art. Basically, we don't have any evidence that tells the history of Ebru art. We don't know who made this art for the first time. We don't know actually in which country this art was practiced. When we today we call this art as a Turkish Ebru art. The reason we call Turkish Ebru art is not because Turkish people invented this art. It is because this art was protected by Turkish people. So during Seljuk Empire, we know during Ottoman Empire, before the Turkish Republic, this art was very popular. and it was practiced. People actually use this for book covers, for like different purposes. And we have some samples even like from 15th century, I guess, from Turkey. But we also have older papers from different part of the world, like Japan. You may know it is known as sumi nagashi. This they basically the same technique. Um, we have some samples from India. If you know about like a Deccan Sultanate from 15th, 16th century, they also have these kind of papers. So it's very identical. If you look at all of these countries, in ancient time, actually, the people actually both communicate with each other. Was one of the way was the Silk Road, basically, and the Silk Road, starting like from even Eastern China, and then you have India, you have Turkic nations around this region. You have Iran, Turkey, and then from Turkey, Turkey was basically the last, wherever actually comes Turkey will go to Europe later. So all of these countries on the line of the Silk Road will practice this art. And people actually will not just trade things, they have trade ideas and like different things as well. European people learn this art from Turkey, basically, from Istanbul, and then they start practicing in Spain, Germany, Italy. If you look at like old books, if you go to libraries in Europe, check these like very old books published in 19th century. I'm sure you're gonna see a lot of like these Ebru papers. In Spain, people are very dedicated. Actually, they have their own studios. Today we have some design we call as a Spanish design, which is very nice. And also United States. After European people actually came here, they also practiced here. 18th century, 1850s. We have some papers. I also have some of them actually in my library. Very old papers, 1850s, 1900. So these papers are very old. So the Ebru art was born orphan. We don't actually the beginning of it, who made it, where this art was born. Uh, I mean, I hope we do more research about this and to see. Uh, let's see. This is another challenge for us. We have to find it out. So it was born as an orphan, even from the very first day. There is no fixed homeland for it. It travels around the world, and it makes visits to Japan, China, Taiwan, to the lands of Indians and Persians, to Anatolia and to Europe, and so many other places. This is Ebru. It is a guest for civilizations. It has freedom. It does not look for an owner. It is not in the home of whoever endeavors or sweats. It is in the home of whoever endeavors and sweats. It becomes the guest to where it is hosted well. It has no fixed adobe or home. Ebru is a guest. It visits and moves on. This is all about it. It is your story I am telling. It is our story, basically. I want to say thank you one more time to my dear friends Paulina and Carissa for writing this book and then become a contributor actually in Ebru art history, um, to leave some footprints actually for the future generation, for the people actually who may want to know. As I said, when I was like all the years, basically about like 20 something years, basically I didn't have any. I wish I could have books, but right now uh, people in Taiwan actually maybe they experience the same thing I was experiencing. So now you have wonderful. You can actually look and learn. You can also take workshops to practice. And for the last one, if you have any questions or any concern, anything that you want to learn about Ebru art, you can always reach Paulina and Carissa. We can actually meet. We can also do Zoom meeting maybe in the future. I want to say thanks again and congratulations to everybody over there. Hope to see you maybe next time. Stay well. Bye bye.